The New Jersey Devils are not in the 2020 Stanley Cup Play-In Series. They are one of the 7 teams that are ineligible to play because they didn't make the top 24 when it comes to points percentage. As a result, they're pretty much just sitting out on the sidelines. They're not going to be doing anything the entirety of the play-in series and the playoffs. They can make trades, but that's really just about it. And we just have to wait until maybe even January to see New Jersey Devils hockey once more. But I was scrolling through Reddit and looking at all of the individual teams' subreddits for articles, interesting discussion, and news. Earlier, I saw this post over here on the R Devils subreddit, published by a user named... Okay, let's go at it here. ZSDRFTY. Zdrfty. Yeah, okay. His post says that the New Jersey Devils missed the playoffs by 3 points. And before we get into the actual text that he includes, the NHL standings do indicate that, yes, the New Jersey Devils did miss the play-in series because their point percentage was lower than Montreal's. The last team in the East to make the Stanley Cup Play-In Series was the Montreal Canadiens, who had a 50% points percentage. They had 71 points in 71 games, so if you divide 71 by the total amount of points that they could have gotten, which in this case would be 71 times 2 for 142, it is literally 50%. They were at the very end, and they were the worst team. However, the New Jersey Devils wrapped up this season with 68 points in 69 games. If they got 1 point, getting 69 points in 69 games, they would have been at an equal 50% winning percentage. If they got 2 more points, they would have had 70 points in 69 games played, putting their points percentage just over 50%. So I don't actually think the poster of the New Jersey Devils Reddit post is actually correct. I think they missed out by 2 points. If they got 2 points, they would have had a higher points percentage, but that's besides the point. The text in this little post reads that it was ultimately a familiar face that ended their chances. If we didn't blow the lead against the Montreal Canadiens led by Ilya Kovalchuk, we would be in. That's your cursed factoid of the day. And I saw this and I was like, okay, wait, what? What? Wait, okay, let's go back to the New Jersey Devils schedule for this season and take a look at that game against Montreal. Here it is. It's February 4th, at home, Ilya Kovalchuk making another return to New Jersey, and the New Jersey Devils lost 5-4 in a shootout. This game was kind of whack if you were a Devils fan, because Miles Wood scored 10 minutes into the first period, Palmieri scored on the power play to open up the second, and Jesper Bratt scored 5 minutes later. It was 3-0 New Jersey at the halfway mark of the second period, halfway mark of the game pretty much. Then all of a sudden it's Yoel Armia with a shorthanded goal. Then it's Nate Thompson with a second period goal too. Then it's Nick Cousins in the third period, and 2 minutes later Christian Folin. All of a sudden the Canadiens are winning this game after the Devils had the lead after 1 half. Kyle Palmieri scores on the power play, it's 20 seconds left, and all of a sudden we're going to overtime. That doesn't end well. No goals, no nothing. And all of a sudden it's a shootout to where Ilya Kovalchuk comes out of the shadows, he scores on Louis Domingue, he's the only goal of the entire shootout, and the Montreal Canadiens win 5-4. If the Canadiens lost this game in a shootout, the playoffs would be reversed. Or excuse me, the play-in series. I should probably get used to saying that. Because if we take a look at the NHL standings once more, the Montreal Canadiens finished with 71 points in 71 games. If you remove 1 point from the Canadiens, you get 70 points in 71 games. That is a 49.2 winning percentage. And if you take that 1 point that you remove from Montreal and you give it to New Jersey instead, their win percentage is 50%. They get 69 points in 69 games. All of a sudden, 1 game changes the entire outlook of both of these teams' futures for the next few months. If Kovalchuk does not score, then all of a sudden we don't know what happens in the shootout. Maybe Domingue makes a few more saves, maybe the Devils come back and win it, and now the entire landscape of what's to come now is completely different. Hey, though, at least if that did happen, the Canadiens would be in contention for a lottery pick, or at least they currently are right now. Technically, every team in the play-in series is eligible for a lottery pick. It's just dependent on whether or not they lose in the upcoming play-in series. But regardless, the Montreal Canadiens, in such a very poetic way, were able to squeak into the playoffs like this. And obviously, you know, there are other situations where if the Devils got 2 more points, they would have made the playoffs, or the play-in series, I guess. Obviously, there was that 6-game losing streak at the very beginning of the year that screwed them over really hard. That was the stint where Jack Hughes was not producing. I made a video talking about how Jack Hughes had 0 points in his first few games, and that blew up and Devils fans got really upset. But this kind of narrative is a little bit more fun to look at, a little bit more poetic, and it rubs a little bit more salt into the wound for Devils fans. I got nothing against you, but it's just seeing stuff like this where teams are suffering so poorly, it just... oh boy, it just gets my blood boiling, you know? It's very interesting to talk about. To think that Ilya Kovalchuk, the guy that screwed you over all those years ago, who eventually made his way back, was the guy who, if you take a look at this one game, with the Montreal Canadiens and the New Jersey Devils, 2 of the worst teams in the East when it came to the playoff race, he was the guy that screwed you over once again this year. If he doesn't score that goal in the shootout, then maybe you guys win. Maybe you guys get that 50% point percentage, and maybe Montreal drops down to 49.2. Maybe you guys are in the play-in series if it wasn't for Ilya Kovalchuk. Oh my goodness. Okay, let's go over to the comments in this Reddit post because they do bring up some very interesting points. Obviously, the beginning, first 6 games are brought up here by screwoff_. We also talk a little bit more about a different perspective. This comment here is from DTW131. Am I the only one who didn't want to make it? The playoffs? That round is only a play-in series. We'd probably get crushed. I want a top 6 pick, not some handout to a 24-team tournament to make a couple fans feel good before getting manhandled. This team needs talent. Period. And this comment had a lot of replies saying similar things like, yeah, you know, I agree. I do agree that this team isn't really in the spot where making a play-in series is going to be beneficial for them, and just getting another really good pick is going to be something that provides more value to this team, especially in the long term, when compared to a shortened series play-in thing that the NHL is only putting on because they had to pause up their season for the year. And I can totally see the perspective from both sides. Even if the Montreal Canadiens, by some reality, are the team that falls out and let's say New Jersey gets in, this is the same perspective that I'd have with Montreal. This team does not deserve playoff time, especially after trading away all the players that were able to carry them to the position that they got to in the first place. No more Scandella, no more Thompson, no more Ilya Kovalchuk. They're all gone. This team depleted so much of the depth that they would have been able to use in a play-in series because they knew that they weren't going to do anything. So a handout like this where they're in the play-in series does definitely get a little bit weird when you're like, okay, but they just loaded up all of their bottom 6 depth and lower-tiered defensemen at the trade deadline. So wouldn't they want to get those players back? Like, Kovalchuk, go ahead, win a cup in Washington for sure, but like, the team that traded you is now in. So yeah, that's gonna be pretty weird, isn't it? But that kind of wraps up this whole video on the New Jersey Devils and how they barely missed out on the play-in series, and how, even though you can amount it to any one moment, especially with a team that plays 69 games a year, obviously you're not going to win all of them, meaning that any one of the losses that they had, hey, if you just won that game, especially if it was a regulation loss in reality, you could have been in the play-in series because you would have had 70 points in 69 games instead of 68. So obviously, there are many other games that you can blame this on, but the one against Montreal is very, very interesting, especially the fact that it was Kovalchuk who ended it. So that kind of wraps everything up. Comment down below what you think about the New Jersey Devils. What do you think about their team going forward? Would you have rather wanted to see them in the playoffs? Or, excuse me, the play-in series? My goodness, I'm going to have to get used to that. Or would you have rather wanted to get like a Cole Perfetti or whatever, a Marco Rossi, or a Lucas Raymond, or maybe even a Lafrenière if you guys win the draft lottery, goodness forbid. But anyways, I hope you enjoyed this video. So that is Comment down below what you think, and bye.